Climate change has got a lot to do with science. Science is a doorway to figure out the wacky things about our world. It helps us understand how things work. It's the reason that we know why climate change is happening. But not everyone has access to science, especially not the people who are dealing with the climate crisis firsthand. As things get worse, they're going to need to understand what's going on. Putting science in the hands of the people gives them the chance to adapt. But these people live in the lap of nature, and they've got their fair share of wisdom about it. So, what can we do to bring their knowledge back to science? To work together in solving this crisis of epic proportions? Welcome to In Our Nature, a podcast by the Ecobari Collaborative that uncovers what we need to do to protect ecosystems so that they can protect us. I'm your host, Isha, and in this series, we explore our deep connections with the natural world and how restoring nature can help us adapt to climate change. Ecobari is a shared initiative of 9 founding partners and is convened by the Watershed Organization Trust. In our third episode, we visit some of Water's field sites to meet local community members and get their take on our big question. Is science really a two-way street? First stop, Kumbharwadi Village. The community center in Kumbharwadi is home to a curious set of maps. But they're not just maps, they're more like 3D models. One of them has these patches of green and yellow and little blue lines running all over it. And the other one right next to it is mostly blue with a few patches of brown here and there.
जसं की आमच्या गावाचा जर ड्रोन कॅमेऱ्यातून वरतून जर फोटो काढला तो कसा दिसेल.
That's Bhagwat Ghagre, the secretary of the village water committee, telling me that this is actually a model of their village and the groundwater aquifer that's below it. He says the process of making this model fundamentally changed the way his community thinks about water. And the first time I heard that, I was like, how does a community come to understand what an aquifer is? Just by building a cardboard model. But to understand that, he says we need to go back to the beginning. The village of Kumbharwadi in Maharashtra's Ahmednagar district has a long history with WOTR, which goes all the way back to the early 90s. Back then, Kumbharwadi was experiencing pretty intense water stress. So WOTR supported the local community with watershed development. And for a while after that, Bhagwat says, everything was great.
ज़्यादा पानी मिलने के बाद लोगों ने गन्ने का फसल भी लेना शुरू कर दिया. आमदनी बढ़ने के बाद जो कुआं थी कुआं डीप कर दिए. पूरा इरिगेटेड एरिया बढ़ गया और लोगों का खुशहाल मंगल हो गया था. उसी टाइम पे बहुत खुशहाल मंगल हो गया था हमारे पूरे गांव का.
It was an incredible thing for farmers in a drought-prone region to have access to water all year round. It allowed them to cultivate more crops, more high-value and water-intensive crops like sugarcane, and just generally earned them a lot more money.
फिर वो 2002 से कम 2007-8 तक चला, ठीक से चला. उसके बाद थोड़ी परेशानियाँ आने लगी. जैसे कि हमारे समर में जो हमारे पीने के लिए पानी की प्रॉब्लम आने लगी. हमारा जो गन्ने का फसल है वो भी ख़त्म हो गया. गांव में बहुत झगड़े बिगड़े, गांव में बहुत परेशानी चल रही थी.
But you know how it is. All good things must come to an end. People are pulling out a lot of groundwater and the same old problems start cropping up again. Wells run dry in the summer, the winter crop goes bust. And naturally, the people sit up and take notice. Now nobody wants to be back where they started. But back then, people didn't quite get how their water use would affect other people in the village. They saw it more as personal property. It was more like, hey, this is my well, this is my water.
माझी विहीर आहे, माझी विहिरीचं पाणी माझं आहे.
So now the challenge is to convince people that this isn't just your water. This is coming from an underground aquifer that's not just shared amongst the people of your village, but is actually shared amongst multiple different villages. And guess what? It's invisible. So you have to change the way you behave, the kind of crops you're gonna grow, the kind of money you're gonna make, based on this thing that you can't even see. Wow. Good luck with that. So, how do you make the invisible visible? And how do you do it in a way that makes the community trust and believe you? Bhagwat tells us a little bit more about what went down back then.
वॉटर संस्थेचे जिओलॉजिस्ट आले आणि त्या जिओलॉजिस्टनी एक व्हिडिओ आमच्या गावामध्ये दाखवला. त्या व्हिडिओमध्ये असं होतं की 5 थेंब पाऊस पडला त्याचा 1 थेंब पण पाणी म्हणजे एखादा थेंब जमिनीत मुरतो.
So, a geologist comes down from WOTR's research team, the Water Center for Resilient Studies, or WCRES, and starts showing them this is how water percolates. You already know this because of watershed development, but we want to get into it a little bit deeper.
त्यांनी जवळजवळ 1-1.5 महिना इथं गावाचा पूर्ण सर्वे केला. जमिनीची काही कंडक्टिव्हिटी घेतली, त्याच्यानंतर जे गावाचं वॉटर टेबल आहे त्याची पण सर्वे केला.
So this geologist hangs out in the village for a month and a half, does a bunch of surveys, and then, they have a sense of what the aquifer looks like. But they don't talk about it directly with the community. Instead, they say, let's make a map.
आमची गावाची रचना आणि ते जे कार्डशीट पेपर कटिंग करून आम्ही गावाची एक रचना तयार केली.
And this map has got a bunch of details about where the mountains are, where the roads are, where people's homes are, where the village temple is, the whole shebang.
आपलं घर कुठं आहे किंवा गावातलं मंदिर कुठं आहे, पण ते एक लोकांच्या ह्याच्यातून माइंडमधून आलं पाहिजे ते कुठं आहे आपलं.
So it helps build this sense of familiarity that, okay, this map shows me where I am. This is my village. And it becomes a nice way to get people involved with the process because then they're like, hey, you didn't put in my fruit orchard. Where's my fruit orchard?
अरे माझं फळबाग इकडं होतं, तुम्ही दाखवलंच नाहीत, ते फळबाग दाखवायचं.
And eventually they get to a point where everyone has agreed to this map that they've built. And then the geologist says, okay, so this is what your village looks like above ground. And I've been studying what it looks like below ground.
ये जमीन के ऊपर का जो लोगों के साथ किया था और जमीन के नीचे का जो है ये पूरे 1.5 महीने का जो उन्होंने गांव में पूरा सर्वे किया और उसके बाद लोगों के सामने रखा था. ये ऐसा है आपके गांव का. वो लोगों के साथ, वो नीचे का लोगों के साथ नहीं किया था क्योंकि लोगों को मालूम नहीं था, लेकिन लोगों को इतना मालूम था कि हमारी कुआं है, वो कुएं को 30 फीट या 35 फीट पे पानी है, 35 फीट पे एक्यूफर है.
Firstly, the people have already started to build some trust because they've been seeing this person working in their village for a while. And then they see that the level of water in their wells, which are marked out on the map that they've made, correspond to the level of water that's meant to be in the aquifer according to what the geologist is saying. So they start to realize that this water is not many little pockets. It's actually one big pool.
कुंभारवाडीचं आणि बाकीचे जे 3-4 गावं आहेत शेजारची, त्यांचा सगळ्यांचा ॲक्युफर एकच आहे, बरोबर. मग एकच ॲक्युफर असल्यामुळे कुंभारवाडीत तर जलवास्तवनाचं खूप काम आहे, पण त्यांना काही त्याचा इम्पॅक्ट दिसत नाही.
So they come together, they make a committee amongst all the villages that share this aquifer to be able to have a real impact on the way they manage their groundwater. Because if one village is responsible about how they handle their water and the next one isn't, they're not going to be able to make much progress.
जलसाक्षरता हा एक विषय याच्यामध्ये आहे, ह्या ॲक्युफर मॉडेलमध्ये. जलसाक्षरता म्हणजे लोकांना खूप पाण्याविषयी जागरूकता याच्यातून निर्माण होते.
Creating this model was a tangible way for the local community to understand and be involved in the science of how water flows through their landscape. That knowledge immediately changes the way they interact with the resource and with each other. It shows how empowering it can be to have access to scientific information and how communities can make long-standing change when they do. In Kumbharwadi's case, managing their water better means they can have access to water all the time, even when there's a drought or it's really hot, all the things that get worse with climate change. But this isn't limited to water. There's a lot of different ways that science can help communities make decisions about how to keep themselves safe. Another example is early warning systems. If you know that a storm is approaching, you can be better prepared for it. You could stay indoors. You could make sure all your valuables are safe and dry. Local weather-based advisories and forecasts also help farmers plan better to choose what to plant, when to harvest, and basically reduce their risk. So it's clear that science can do a lot for communities. But what can communities do for science in return? Nature makes planet Earth a fascinating place to live. It's intricate and wondrously weird, and its collective influence balances the Earth system. Think about it like this. Ecosystems currently absorb more than half the carbon emissions we put out in the atmosphere. More than half. That's a lot. But we're putting a lot of strain on the world's wild places, and climate change is making it worse. So we need more hands on deck, more people studying the world's ecosystems to figure out exactly what is changing. What species used to be found in a certain place that just aren't there anymore? Have they gone to different places? Have their niches changed? What species are managing to survive despite rising temperatures or floods or droughts? If we know all this, we can prioritize what we need to protect and how we can protect it. How do we help nature rebuild itself in a changing climate? And you know who's got a lot of information about what's living in their neighborhood? I'm heading to a village called Bhosdari to find out. Bhosdari is home to a man named Ganpat Hande. Ganpat is somewhat of a celebrity in his local circles. कोई आया है आपसे मिलने?
तो बाहर गेलेले बाहेर
एक कट कभी
आप पॉज लेना चाहते हो उनसे बात करना चाहते हो?
नहीं.
Okay. And also he really looks the part. He's got these sunglasses that he had on the entire time we were together, and he's the police patil of his village. That's a role that's selected by the district collector's office to manage local affairs, which can be anything from festivals to family feuds. But that's not the only thing Ganpat is known for. He actually has another claim to fame. The man is practically a gold mine when it comes to all the different kinds of wild edible plants that grow around his area.
ते कोरपडे हे फुलांची भाजी सुद्धा होती बा.
एलोवेरा बोलते हैं ना?
ॲलोवेरा ये फूल की भाजी होती.
और ये आप आज सुबह बता रहे थे.
हाँ तरोटा है वो, टाकड़ा बोलता है उसको.
Takda. Wild edible plants are also called ranbhaji in Marathi, and they're basically native species that grow without being cultivated. So Ganpat estimates there's something like 3,000 varieties of these plants in India, and about 50 of those are found in his local landscape. And while some varieties grow year-round, monsoon is really their time to shine.
आता समजा भाजी करायची असेल तर सुरुवातीला पाऊस पडायच्या सुरुवातीला जी कवळी पालवी फुटती त्या कवळ्या पालवीची भाजी बेस्ट टेस्ट लागते.
He says that the young, tender leaves that come out during the monsoon are the yummiest. But people also eat different parts of different plants, not just the leaves, also flowers and roots and other things like that. He actually told me about a flower that's so potent, fitness influencers advertise it on YouTube as a way to build muscle mass.
आजही जर यूट्यूबला जर व्हिडिओ पाहिले ना तर ते मसल वाढवण्यासाठी त्या फुलांचा वापर आहे.
When they're not being used for bodybuilding, ranbhaji are usually prepared simply to allow their natural flavors to emerge.
मसाला रानभाज्यांकडे भाज्याला नाही ना मसाला लागत नाही. कांदा लसूण आणि चटणी त्यांची जी ओरिजिनल चव आहे तर ती बदलू नये.
Ganpat's wife, Babitai, cooked some for me and they were so delicious. I also got to spend some time wandering around his little courtyard garden where he gave me samplers of all the different plants he had on hand. And there was this full palette of sweet and sour and bitter and just all around wonderful. Everything from really thin, delicate leaves to fleshy cactus-like branches. Never in my life have I felt more like a herbivore than in that moment. Ganpat's interest in ranbhaji started when he was still in school, when he would read about them in the Department of Agriculture's Farmers magazine. And he's been documenting them ever since, sometimes with the government, sometimes just on his own. His camera roll is chock full of pictures.
हा हे बडदा आहे बा. एक आपलं याला म्हणतो ना फोंडचीची भाजी.
बहुत कलेक्शन है उनके.
He told us that one time he went to Harishchandragarh, which is a forested mountain nearly 70 kilometers away from his village, to forage for rare and medicinal wild plants, with some tribal or Adivasi friends of his.
आम्ही हरिश्चंद्रगडापर्यंत पण गेलेलो आहे. म्हणजे औषधी वनस्पती शोधण्यासाठी आदिवासी बांधवांबरोबर तिथं.
Adivasi communities are incredible storehouses of knowledge about these plants, and Ganpat says he's learned a lot from them.
आदिवासी समाज के लोग को मालूम होता है, बाकी सर्वसाधारण माणसाला माहीत नाही ना.
Ran bhaji are a great source of nutrition because they've got a lot of micronutrients.
आयरन, फॉस्फरस, लो, मॅग्नेज.
And they've got medicinal value too. For example, Ganpat was telling us about a plant that comes out during the monsoon, which is actually used as a natural treatment for jaundice, which is common in the season.
आणि मग त्याच्यामध्ये सुरुवातीला पाऊस पडायच्या सुरुवातीला जे साथीचे आजार येतात, दूषित पाण्यामुळे कावीळसारखे आजार येतात. म्हणजे मग त्या कावीळवर चालणाऱ्या सुद्धा भाज्या आहेत.
And that's just the one. There's a whole lot more.
हड़सान बोलते हैं इसे, ये हड्डियों की जोड़ने के काम करता है. जब हड्डियाँ किसी की ब्रेक हो जाती है ना, वो हड्डियाँ ना इतनी अच्छी जोड़ जाती है ना कि डॉक्टर भी फिर बता नहीं सकते. एक्सरे में भी मालूम नहीं होता कि यहाँ क्रैक हो गया. ये पारिजातक उसके सफ़ेद फ्लावर आते हैं, 5 पत्ते वाला. नी प्रॉब्लम जिनको होती है ना, इसके पत्ते जो है ना, ये बॉईल के उसका कभी वाटर भी लिया ना एक 15-20 दिन, तो उसकी नी प्रॉब्लम जिसके मुझे कभी कभी किसी पेशेंट को नी रिप्लेसमेंट के बारे में डॉक्टर बताता है, तो मैं उसको सलाह देता हूँ कि 2-4 महीने ना, और ये क्या है, फ्री मिलता है ना.
That's Somnath Bontle, the headmaster of the local school, talking about all the different ways Ran bhaji can be used as medicine. He's a good friend of Ganpat's and has clearly caught the Ran bhaji fever.
ये तोंडावले बोलते हैं इसे.
ये बाजार में भी मिलती है.
हाँ मिलती है, लेकिन इसका यूज़ ऐसा है कि आपके मुंह में जब छाले पड़ जाते, कोई मुंह की कोई प्रॉब्लम होती ना, तो कच्चा जब चबा लेते ना, तो मुंह का प्रॉब्लम वैसा ही खत्म हो जाता है.
मेरे आते रहते, मैं चबाऊंगी उसको.
चबाऊंगा ना.
Most of the students in his school, he estimates around 60%, are Adivasis from the Mahadev Koli tribe. These children have grown up following their mothers on foraging expeditions in the forest, and they've become little libraries of knowledge themselves. So Somnath and Ganpat have this idea that, we should really commemorate this knowledge. And so they plan a Ran Bhaji Mahotsav or Wild Edible Foods Festival in their school.
ये पाटिल हमारे साथ थे. बच्चों को मैंने 2-4 दिन पहले बता दिया कि हमें रान बाजी महोत्सव लेना है, और इनको तो इन बॉल्स किलो होते हैं उनका, ये पूरे बता सकते, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं. तो हमने 1-2-4 दिन उसको बता दिया, हर एक बच्चे को बताया जिनको जो भी सब्जियाँ मालूम है, तो उसका हर एक का सैंपल लेके आओ. और दूसरे दिन ऐसी बात हो गई मैडम कि 60 सब्जी का सैंपल हमें मिला था.
To prove his point, Somnath did a little experiment right there and then for us. He called the children who were just hanging around and sent them off and said, just go and collect some Ran Bhaji and come back in 10 minutes. And they did.
या आगाड अगो
मोठारी
तो आगाडाच हे चित्तूर कांदी
चित्रू कांदे चित्रू.
आणि ये
एरंड
ये वाला
लाल माठ.
They brought in a whole bunch of greens and purples and leaves and stems. The littlest boy in the group got these round green fruits that look like unripe tomatoes, about which Somnath said, and I quote, that if you eat those, you won't be leaving the bathroom for a long time. But on the bright side, they are pretty effective when used as biodiesel. At one point, Ganpat said this amazing thing to me. He said that if you know how to identify Ran Bhaji, the entire landscape becomes something you can eat. Even the children we met at this school can identify so many different kinds of plants, and they can navigate forests like the back of their hands.
कसं आहे, एकदम पाऊस पडतो, कधी एकदम उघड होतं, कधी 15 दिवस गॅप देतो, कधी महिनाभर गॅप देतो. याच्यामुळे सुद्धा भाज्यांवर परिणाम आहेच आहे.
Ganpat talks about how Ran Bhaji is affected by shifting rainfall patterns. Too much and too little rain, both can be pretty destructive. That's an issue because the Indian monsoon is undergoing dramatic shifts. Many parts of India that typically received a lot of rainfall are becoming drier, while dry regions are starting to see more rain. We're also seeing more extremes, intense periods of heavy rain and extended periods of drought. These kinds of changes are impacting the ecology of our country in significant ways. Local communities are watching these changes happen, Ganpat's story shows just how much communities know about what lives and breathes around them, so they can be engaged to help us keep track of what's actually going on. An example of this is Keystone Foundation's Barefoot Ecologist program, which works with tribal communities to track the effects of climate change in the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. These communities work with researchers to get a dynamic picture of how flowering patterns, animal behavior, and stream flows are changing. And they're also acknowledged as co-authors on research papers. But the program also helps the community design their own forest management plans by bringing together indigenous and scientific knowledge. Another example is Inuit communities in the Arctic, who've contributed traditional knowledge to climate studies on changing sea ice. CGIAR, a global agriculture research organization, also works with farming communities to identify effective adaptation strategies. So clearly, there's a lot of space to play here. Communities can manage a changing climate better when they have access to science, and science can really benefit by tapping into the lived experience of communities. Thanks for listening to In Our Nature. Our podcast is supported by Honeywell Hometown Solutions India Foundation. If you like this episode, please share it far and wide to help us get the word out there. We're super grateful for your support and your attention. Ecobari stands for Ecosystem-Based Adaptation for Resilient Incomes. Our collaborative aims to spotlight and enable solutions that build climate resilience and sustainable livelihoods by restoring, protecting, and enhancing nature. It's a shared initiative of 9 founding partners with diverse areas of expertise, including rural development, action research, sustainable finance, nature conservation, and policy engagement. To learn more about Ecobari, visit our website at www.ecobari.org.